welcome to the UN Brief. Today we interviewed Jon von Tetzchner. He's the co-founder and CEO of Vivaldi, a browser that's keeping your data private. He was at CES and spoke about the automotive industry shift to EVs and how Vivaldi is working with Renault and other car manufacturers to develop a browser that works in cars. Thank you for watching and listening to the UN Brief, and don't forget to subscribe. Vivaldi has been operational for a couple of years, and of course your focus and the reason for your success has to do with the question of privacy that we have much more need. We realized nowadays how important it is to have our data not be tracked, our IP addresses be tracked by all these companies, these ad exchange companies.
Yeah, I mean, for me, CS was really good. I think one of the important thing is actually that there's people there. For a few years now, there's been a lot less people or no people at these conferences. So for me, this is actually the first time I've been back at a conference, probably since early 2020. At Vivaldi, we've actually been making some work to become available in cars. So we are available now in a few cars, the Polestar and Renault, and we had some partners there, P3 and TomTom, that were demonstrating solutions for cars. So I was looking at that, and I'm also quite excited about electric cars in general. So I think there was a lot of really exciting models being shown there, and it's good to see the industry moving in that direction. We build web browsers, so in this case, it's just a question of building in a web browser into your car. And I think the big change that's been happening with cars is that they're getting to be online. They're a lot more online, and they have big screens. And also, when you're using an electric car, you will sometimes have a situation where you're waiting in the car. It's an example of the kind of thing that you would be doing. You're not going to be using your browser while you're driving. You're not supposed to do that. You keep your eyes on the road. But every now and then you will be in a situation where you'll be waiting, whether that's on charging or you'll be waiting while you're just waiting on someone. And then you can actually either watch some stuff, or you can do some actual work. You can connect a keyboard, and then you have a working computer in your car. So this is in line with our thinking as a company, that we should adapt to the needs of the user, and that includes to the devices that the users are using. So we're providing the browser today on PCs and Macs and Linux computers and on Android mobile phones, and we have iPhones versions coming up. So we're trying to be there where the users need us, and in the car industry, we're kind of ahead of the curve. There's not many cars that have browsers. One of the cars that has is the Tesla, but Elon Musk himself said that their browser was no good. We did a comparison, and we tend to agree. It's very limited. It's very limited as a browser, but
because that's the intention initially at this moment. The idea is not to have such a sophisticated browser for reasons of safety, maybe, or it's just because the technology is not there.
No, I mean, for him, I think they were making the browser themselves. And the point is, to build a browser I mean, you need to do some decent work, and you need to know what you're doing. And I guess they made a simple browser. It has only one tab, for example. So if you're working with browsers in general, you tend to open more than one tab. Now, if you're just going to be watching a video, then it's fine. But if you want to be doing anything a bit more than that, then you want something else. And in our case, we have built into the browser things like tracker blocking, ad blocking, notes handling, synchronization between your PC and your car and your mobile. So we have a lot of functionality built in that you would expect from, well, I guess from a decent browser. Obviously, a lot of those features you don't get in the mainstream browsers. You probably wouldn't get those features in Chrome or Edge or the like. But this is kind of what we would think a browser should be including, and this is what we are including also in the cars.
So who are your partners right now? You mentioned TomTom is already a client. You've been working with them already. They are using your browser, your technology, Vivaldi's
Yeah,
technology.
TomTom is working on solutions for cars. So they are providing software to the car manufacturers. The same as P3, both of them are doing that. We are already shipping in the Polestar, and we are shipping in Renault. But we are working with a lot of companies. There's a lot of interest. I think things are changing dramatically now in a relatively it will be changing a lot in cars. The expectations of what you're able to do in your car is changing. And I think it's in line with that you're getting these nice big screens. And then you're getting those nice big screens, and then shouldn't you be able to do something with them? And obviously, with a browser, you can do just about anything. So that's a big change. So we're working with a lot of car manufacturers. I think it's going to be a very significant change in the next few years, both with regards to the software in the cars, but also I think positively also it's going to be a lot more electric cars, and that's something that I'm really excited about as we try to get away from oil.
Fossil
Uh,
fuels, right, on their way out. What are the challenges? What do you see are the challenges there for us to, really get there in terms of adoption, having, a significant number of cars on the roads, of
you're thinking for self-driving cars,
driving
or?
cars, yes.
Well, I mean, it's just being developed, and I think over time, as the technology gets better, it's just a question of time that the cars will be able to work really well in all kinds of situations. Like you say, there's been a lot of playing with this for some time. Actually, if you go to the Science Museum in Oslo, they have a self-driving bus in the museum. It's only a few years old, but it's a project that they were testing out in Oslo. And so, and to me, that's a really interesting technical solution, that you would have self-driving buses and the like, maybe smaller, so you can kind of as a technical solution, instead of using cars, or I mean, you have the bus systems, which are great, but you could have a more custom bus system if it was self-driving and bigger numbers. But that's another story. I do think this is with all the innovations happening with artificial intelligence in this case. This is actually a case where artificial intelligence does something good, that you can kind of gradually learn how to drive, that the cars can utilize the data that they have to be able to learn all the different situations and gradually become really good drivers. And I think we've come quite far with that already, and I think that's only going to continue. That doesn't mean that there will not be accidents with self-driving cars, and we are seeing that. But I think there will be solutions on this over time.
Do you think the conversation on policy is becoming really a necessary conversation to have in these trade fairs too?
Well, I didn't have any meetings at this fair, but I can tell you that this is something that we are very engaged in as a company. Um, we would like to see that the use of data should be clearly regulated, and this is something that we've been trying to get the message through to the EU and to others. We even made a cat video, which you can see at banspying.org, which is trying to get the point through. I think over time now, uh, big tech has been collecting data on us. They've been utilizing that to create profiles on us, which they're using to service ads or content. And I think we've seen that those technologies are not working well.
Yes, they're not as benign as they want us to believe. because they end up being sold and resold, and we end up like trapped in this bubble of what they imagine we want to do and be on the web, right?
Basically. So it's really a significant problem. And actually, I got a question at the conference if there was one technology that I would like to get rid of, and I actually mentioned this one because I really think that the technology that is being used here to basically creates profiles on us and then utilize that to for the algorithms. I think it's just something that shouldn't exist and shouldn't be used. And I think no company has the right to collect information on their users on in this way. I mean, when you as a company have access to data on your users, you should treat that very carefully, and you should never use it for any other purpose than basically serving your customers. And I think this is where it's the opposite for some of the big tech companies, where the data collection has become center, and they're kind of almost inventing things, I mean, services to be able to collect data instead of thinking, okay, how are we going to serve best our
Right.
customers?
Mhm.
They're just thinking, okay, how can we create a service that would allow us to collect more data? This is just wrong, and it needs to be stopped, and that's what we are fighting for. In the meantime, we're trying to put things into the browser like tracker blocking and the like to help with this situation. But I really think what we need is regulation on this, and I'll tell that to anyone that will listen. And seemingly, at least, there is the EU are doing things. There is the latest case with Facebook as an example of that, where they're saying that they shouldn't be able to kind of just but when people sign up that they will automatically accept that they will be profiled. So it's in this case it's a question of asking the users, but I really think it should go further than that. You shouldn't even be allowed to ask users. You should just say you can't do that. You can't
Mhm.
profile
By
users.
default, you shouldn't be able to.
Yes, you shouldn't be
Because this
able to. Yeah.
because they engage in sort of behavior modification, right, in a large scale with these designs of the algorithms based on what you tried. Maybe you liked a few things, but doesn't mean you are going to be going there, but they now make you go there all the time. So this is very, very dangerous, as we have seen, in terms of the polarization it creates politically. But to wrap it up, tell us a little bit about some of the features of the Vivaldi browser that have been, people have been talking about in terms of privacy.
Well, I think, I mean, things like the tracker blocking and ad blocking, I think from a privacy perspective, those are really, really important. I mean, with the tracker blocking, you can block a lot of those trackers that are collecting information about you. And similarly, with the ad blocker, you can take that one step further. Personally, I actually think some of this is unfortunate because I'd like to see content on the internet for free. I understand the value of advertisement as a way to pay for services, but it shouldn't be tracking advertisement, and that's an important distinction. Uh, there's also other little details in this, and that's that we are actually not engaging in this business ourselves. We are not collecting data on users. We're not profiling our users. So I think that's different. I think from most all of our competitors, even companies that are saying that they're kind of privacy oriented, sometimes they're also ad companies. And that's
They are
kind of
on the
funny.
back selling advertising, right?
Yeah.
With
So
the
it's it's
data
it's
of the customer that is using the browser.
yeah. So to me, it's important that again, you have to start with yourself, and in our case, that means okay, if we are against kind of this profiling, then let's not engage in it ourselves, and then let's try to help the user stay as safe as possible by putting in the kind of functionality that reduces the level of information that's collected on you. We are also providing, I mean, if you want to get away from some of the being logged into Google or Microsoft and the like, because you, again, if you're logged in, then you're to a great extent identifying yourself. So we are providing a mail client and calendar service and things like that, which also allow you to take a step away from the big guys. And I think that's something that's healthy. Also, I mean, not only for using our services, but for using services that others provide. I mean, I would recommend anyone that values their privacy to utilize a mail service that is maybe just a paid service, right? So which doesn't utilize your data, something like a fast mail or similar. We also provide a free email service, but any of those services that you pay a few dollars a year, but at least your data is not being collected. And I think there's something creepy about the potential that you'll get ads about things that are in your emails. That's
All
just
the time. Yes, all the time. I just sent some emails this morning and immediately I was served some ads. They never stop. Huh?
it
So
shouldn't happen.
it shouldn't happen, right? Because after all, I mean, in any case, well, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for taking a moment to speak with the UN Brief. And I look forward to continuing the conversation on all questions related to automotive and also privacy issues. Thank you so much, John. A pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you for watching and listening to the UN Brief. And don't forget to subscribe